Welcome to the Doctors of Running virtual roundtable, where we, a group of doctors of physical therapy, discuss the art and the science to the stuff that we are putting on our feet. We are on episode 66 today. We're continuing our conversations about the DPT approved awards, or our top picks for shoes in different categories for 2021. If you hadn't had a chance to listen to it, we started this off last week when we talked about the best daily trainers of 2021. So you can see our pick in episode 65 for that, as well as our individual writer picks and then our consensus pick. As I kind of mentioned last week, we as a team have ran over 14,500 miles this year and have tested over 110 shoes. And so all of these shoes have been kind of put into different categories that they could be eligible for awards, and that's kind of what we're running through. And then we each get to pick our top three, and based on what, if they get number one from me, the shoe would get 5 points. If they get second place for me, they get 3, kind of the 5-3-1 model. And then the one with the most points becomes our consensus pick. So that's kind of part of the methods of what we do. And it's not always the shoe that we loved individually the most, but it's the one that we think performs best in that category for the most people, even if it wasn't our favorite, which might start to come out today in some of our picks. So again, we did daily trainer last time. And today we're actually doing a category called performance trainers, and we split this up into 2 different episodes. So today's episode is going to be performance trainers that are non-plated, and then next episode is going to be on performance trainers that are plated. The reason we split them is because we've been spending the whole week deliberating on this and having a hard time coming up with a really good consensus, as well as defining kind of what this category means. And because we think it could go a couple different ways, but this is the definition that we landed on. So performance trainer is a shoe that specializes for up-tempo running workouts and can even double as a racer for some. It is even made better if the shoe can handle warm-ups well and do a couple easy miles on the ends of workouts, but typically isn't as comfortable for daily mileage or even long runs. But that doesn't necessarily hold true, but it's, again, specializing for that up-tempo stuff workouts and can double as a racer. So we're looking at performance trainers today, non-plated. We have a lot of shoes that fit into this category. Some of the examples that were eligible are things like the Adidas Audio 6, the Evo Ride 2 from Asics, the Asics Trinusa, even the Brooks Launch we put in there, the Hoka Mach 4, New Balance Rebel 2, Puma Liberate Nitro, Newton Gravity Plus, Run Fast 3 from Reebok, Kinvara 12, Razor XS from Skechers. I could list them all, but there's a lot more on there. And point is, there's a lot of shoes that are eligible for this category, and it was fun to talk about it. Before we actually get into it, 2 things are happening right now. One, David's computer is on the fritz, so we are recording on Zoom. So we apologize for if the quality of the audio or video is less than what we do when we record on Riverside, but also, we should do a Riverside review. We've been having some problems and they haven't been getting back to us. Anyway, maybe they will if we release this recording.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Call them out. Maybe they
I was going to put my hater blockers on, but they're not in reach. Darn it. I was just going to be like.
So we're not on Riverside. We're on Zoom, which means the quality will be a little bit lower. So we're sorry about that. The second thing is Matt's about going crazy. He's like almost passing out for unknown reasons. So he just has a bunch of water and hopefully he stays upright the whole time. Yep. I think do you kneel while you're recording?
Yeah, I do. Cause I used to sit and it'd make my butt hurt. Cause I don't like sitting in this position. So I'm kneeling right now. Yeah.
He's kneeling for,
I'm also drinking, we haven't reviewed this yet, but Mantra sent us some stuff. So I'm drinking Mantra electrolyte right now. So
that Mantra mix is.
I like that stuff. Yeah. It tastes really good too, which is solid. Awesome. So let's jump into this. Let's jump into this category. We're going to do it similar like we did with the daily trainer, where each of us are going to give our individual picks, which may have been our top pick if it didn't end up being the consensus. But for 2 of us, I believe the consensus was our top pick. So we'll give our next honorable mention after that. And then at the end, we'll give our consensus pick. So DJ, why don't you start us off with your non-plated best performance trainer?
Yeah, of course. So my shoe, it was one that I kind of forgot about, to be completely honest. And so we started going on about the list of the shoes. And I was like, man, what am I gonna pick? What am I gonna pick? And then I kind of came to the consensus for me that I have to pick this shoe because I've done just about everything in it. But yes.
In our defense, how many shoes have we reviewed this year?
Yeah, over 110.
Yeah.
A lot.
So we there's been a lot of back and forth, like trying to feel like, oh, right, I forgot about that because of the 100+ we did. So
that's why
no judgment.
Like I said, I'm writing down all of them so that and I sent them all the lists like, hey, these are all the ones that are eligible. And that helped us obviously hone in the right answer for us individually. Anyway.
Yeah, and it was early in the year when we reviewed it. And so I forgot that how much I loved the Kinvara 12. So the Saucony Kinvara 12, this actually is my number one for the non-plated category. I've done like 10 miles at like 540 pace in this. I've done some intervals in them. I've done long runs, 18 to 20 miles in them.
Yeah, you did a 20 miler in them. I remember. Yeah. I remember you.
I believe you. I can't.
It stuck out to me as a reality when you did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could literally do everything in it. It's not quite what I would want for daily training. And so I feel like it fits in that performance trainer category perfectly. And it's lightweight. It gives you a very natural feel to the ground underneath you. There's a little bit of flexibility up front, but there's still just enough kind of rigidity just from the power run slab that you're on. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's just a fun shoe. And it's one of those kind of like those shoes that isn't really around too much anymore. Like, I mean, outside of a Treyu kind of bringing it back, but like that EVA slab underneath you, minimal outsole, you know, pretty much kind of everything underneath you, keeping it natural. But that was my number one. So that's obviously not the consensus pick, but that's okay.
Yeah, it didn't make Matt or my list at all. Not that we didn't like the shoe. We liked
it. I may have changed that a little bit.
You can't change it. You submitted.
Oh, I did.
It's like changing your Heisman. It's like changing your Heisman votes. Like when you're at the trophy ceremony, you're like, actually, hold on. Like, hold on. No, you can't change it.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
Sorry, I forgot about the Kinvara. It's a classic shoe.
No,
we reviewed it so early in the year.
Yeah,
but sorry, David.
Oh, it's all good. My number two is the consensus pick, so I'm not going to talk about that. My number three ended up being the Hoka Mach 4. Again, another shoe you could do pretty much everything in. I have run sub 5-minute miles in this, and I have taken it beyond 18 miles. I've done long threshold type stuff in it. It's a performance trainer. Very, very true. Very simple. I wanted to give a quick shout out. I know we're going to go into a little bit more talking about this in a little bit, but Asics Trinusa, lightweight, snappy, responsive, good, solid performance trainer, Newton plus, Gravity plus, lightweight, snappy, fun shoe to run in. They just barely miss. They kind of tie for 4 for me. So
cool. Yeah. Sweet. And I just feel like the Kinvara, I think it is one of those shoes that if you are in the shoe geek world, you're probably asking the question, where does this even have a place anymore to have like a minimal EVA slab when you can have something more quote unquote fun to run in? But I think there's so much, I think that the running market is so much different than like running shoe geek, our little niche that we have. And the ability to have something that just allows you to feel the ground that doesn't feel squishy or bouncy can be really effective. So I can get on board with the Kinvara being on your list, DJ, for sure. I'll go next again to keep myself sandwiched in the middle so that you forget what I talked about. My number one ended up being our consensus pick. So I won't talk about that one, but my number two was this one. Honestly, it was so hard to choose between these two for me. So you could ultimately like interchange them as my number one for this category, but the Hoka Mach 4 was the pick for me. I think that between this and the consensus pick, it was just a little bit slower on top speeds, but everything else functioned a little bit or pretty similarly between the two. And then obviously I think the Mach 4 has more daily trainer capability in it than our consensus pick. But the Mach 4 is just super smooth. And I think the rubberized EVA outsole that they use on that and in the Carbon X2 is for me, it just feels the most soft landing of any of the outsoles that I've ran in. It just feels like you're not slapping the ground at all. And I just love that feeling. And I think that the ProFly topsole on there is just super responsive and the shoe just rolls through really, really nice. The rocker is really well integrated, but it's not too aggressive. So you can kind of like get those warm-ups and cool downs in that shoe, and then really it really can pick up the pace because it locked in well. I think the fit was I really enjoyed that fit more than the typical Hoka fit. And I just liked that little bit wider toe box. I didn't have any blistering, and I could take that shoe pretty quick on some tempos and some intervals and stuff, but did really well at those slower paces too, to get up and down before and after the workouts. My number 3 was also the Trinusa. Or actually, I guess that was your 4th, but the Trinusa was my third. And it was just kind of one of those shoes that it wasn't super frilly, but it has just a really nice rocker, really smooth transitions through the whole thing, and just could roll quick. And I just felt like the upper on the Trinusa, it's on the same base as the Evo Ride too, but the Trinusa upper was just, I think, bounds above in terms of comfort and lockdown. So I just really loved wearing that shoe for workouts. And it could do a lot. And I think it's one of those shoes that can be a racer for half marathon easy. And for a lot of people, especially like me in my realm of running and then even marathoning, I think that shoe is just protective enough and rolls so well that it can do that. So those are my picks.
On to me.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Yeah, David, can you hold that shoe up again? Because my pair is in the car. And I did not get them, but my pick of the year is the Asics Noosa Tri 13. The sole is great. I mean, it's the same sole relatively as the Evo Ride 2, but that upper, I wore that thing sockless. I think I have a little over 100 miles on my pair. I think I ran at least 90% of that without socks and never got any blisters. It was great. So to me, that's impressive, because most shoes, even at like you start going to long runs, you'll get some blisters. So I did a lot of workouts in that shoe, a lot of workouts, both pacing my wife, who's a professional runner, for longer tempo stuff. I did shorter workouts. I even did some daily training, which for me, I like firmer rides, so I can handle something like this, but it was just a super nice ride, a little bit firmer, but just the most comfortable upper. And it was just one of those kind of Goldilocks shoes that just worked for me. I do wish it was a tad softer but again, this is a light shoe. This is meant for going faster. Once you start picking up the pace, you don't notice that. So I totally agree with Nathan that for a lot of people, this could very easily be a long distance racing shoe. There is, like I said, there is no plate, but it's still stiff enough that it might act like it without the same level of aggressiveness you're going to find in some of the carbon fiber plated shoes. So people that have trouble with that, but still want a really nice rockered forefoot, that's a good option. Also, it is really durable. Again, I have barely any wear after 100 miles. And for somebody like me, like I rip through shoes, that's a big deal. And I got to give a shout out to Asics, because a lot of their shoes were super durable this year and are really handling mileage really, really well. So
which
Asics,
is different. Their rubber usually for me like wears out so fast.
Yeah. So there was what?
I have abrasion rubber, man. I'm looking at it. It doesn't even look like I've ran in this shoe.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
I promise you, I have run in this shoe.
Yeah. So Asics had some really, I think,
I'm like, what?
Slightly off topic. I'm really impressed with what Asics did this year, especially. They had some interesting stuff last year, but this year there was some really cool stuff that was really awesome to see, and see changes and see some aggressive takes. So it was really cool. But enough about that. So my second pick was the Hoka Mach 4, for the reason that, it was that shoe. It could have been number one for me. I think it was just slightly too soft, and it was a lot more on that trainer edge to me. I got lots of miles on those daily training. I did some solid tempo runs in that, and that's when I was kind of getting back into some speed stuff, and it went a lot faster than I thought. I think the first time I did a tempo run, it was like 3 miles, and I thought I was running like 620, 630. Lo and behold, I was running 550 pace. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it was really pleasant. It has a harder time doing really fast stuff, I think, because it's so soft. Yeah. But it's just got a nice, smooth ride. And for me, that shoe could also handle easy runs, warm up, and cool downs really well. The Noosa Tri just beat it because that upper comfort was so good. And I think the final one, the third one for me, which blew me away, which I really didn't expect, was the... Oh, wait, never mind. I forgot.
Oh, Maddie.
Let's do the number 4 was a tie, even though I'm not talking about number 4 between these two. I'm sorry, I forgot.
So for people who are listening, no spoilers. But for people who are watching, maybe a
Definitely
spoiler.
spoilers.
Maybe pretend you didn't see that, please.
This is why last week I was like, Matt, don't spoil it. And he's like, I'm not going to. I should have done it again. I should have done it again.
I forget. I'm not sleeping very much. The Razor XS from Skechers and the Convara 12 had very similar placements for me in terms of being just really nice, fun rides that could handle workouts. The Convara 12, I did lots of longer workouts. I did shorter workouts in it as well. It just didn't have quite enough for me anymore, which is weird because this used to be a daily trainer for me. And the Razor XS was good. I was kind of blowing through the outsole too quickly. Yep. And it started to firm up a little bit quicker than I would like, but it's still, they're both very fun shoes that are really good for people going, hey, I don't want a plate, right? I still want a little bit more natural ride. And I think there is very much a place for these. And yes, this is a higher stack Razor. So people that just want a little bit more structure at work. So yeah, nice. Sorry for ruining everything.
No, you did not ruin everything. You did show the people watching what our consensus pick is, but I think what's interesting, I think you had like 25 miles on your Razor XS and your rubber outsole was like peeled all the way off. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably not worth it for Matt,
Yeah.
But most people aren't going to blow through it like that.
Right.
But it definitely isn't as durable as some of those others.
Right.
That's for sure. I think you guys kind of noticed, the way we do our scoring is we only get 3 picks. So we talked about more than 3, but that's because, like I said, this was a hard category because there were a lot of quality shoes. Like you guys didn't get to run in the Liberate Nitro, correct? No. So, that shoe didn't do it for me. I know Ryan, another guy on our team, has really enjoyed that shoe. I know a lot of other people have. Like, there's a lot of other, just this category is tight. All of us had Mach 4 on our list, but it wasn't our consensus pick because there was another shoe that was on the list that did. Mach 4 almost also got Daily Trainer, but it didn't. So, there's been a lot of good shoes put out this year. But let's move on to our consensus pick. For those of you who are listening, this will be a reveal for everyone else who is watching. You kind of already know. But this one, our consensus pick for performance trainer non-plated shoe is the New Balance Rebel 2, which is just also a slick looking shoe, if we're being honest. But go ahead, Matt.
All the other colorways, I haven't we all have the same one, but every colorway that comes out, it's like, dang, that's a nice shoe.
I know, I want to buy every color for sure. But this shoe kind of deviates from a lot of our other picks. This is kind of like the new age shoe. And the reason I say that is the fuel cell that's used within this model is just incredibly soft. And at the same time, it's paired with a really lightweight upper. So this shoe just is super light and you can turn it over really, really fast. The foam, as you go faster, kind of responds with you. So you don't sink into it. It doesn't feel like one of those foams that's so soft, you just kind of like can't work out of the shoe. It does kind of pick up with you. David might disagree a little bit. Is that what that face is?
To some degree.
Okay, we'll talk about it. This is good. I think additionally, some of the things that they did in terms of design that were impressive to me, at least, mechanically, is that they did even though this foam is incredibly soft, they stabilized it with some geometry. So on the inside of the midsole, the medial side, they created kind of a convex rib that comes through there, which you can actually feel that kind of supporting the midsole of the shoe so that you don't collapse as much, and it doesn't just kind of like really deform under your feet. You have some flaring of that sole laterally, especially on the shoe, which gives some stability there. And it just has a really nice integrated bevel. So there's a lot of geometric work that had to go into making this shoe runnable, given how soft the foam is. And I think that's one of the things that impressed us as a team, was how they took something that could have been unrunnable without some kind of stabilizing plate and made it this non-plated, lightweight, fun trainer. So what do you guys have to add about it?
Yeah, I think it is a very responsive shoe for the category. It's definitely a shoe that feels great running fast in. I didn't mean to smirk too hard, but Fuel cell in general, if there's too much of it for me, it does feel a little soft and unresponsive. So the midsole itself, yeah, the RC Elite, I have a hard time with it. Like
The Elite 2.
The Elite 2, yeah, the RC Elite 2. It almost functions more as a performance trainer for me rather than a racing shoe. And that's just kind of my opinion there. I think for a marathon, it's fine. I mean, obviously 26 miles, like you're not going to be hammering out super fast miles, but if you're trying to run a 5K, 10K, even a half to some degree, like it just doesn't quite have it. It's almost too much fuel cell.
Mm-hmm.
But
I totally agree, by the way, that it's a great marathon shoe and a less aggressive carbon option. But for me, it was like a performance trainer, more like.
Yeah. And so with the Rebel, it's a little bit less fuel cell. There's no plate. You get a little bit more road and ground feel. The outsole has a little bit more traction to it. It's a performance shoe. It's a performance trainer. And to be completely honest, if I was going to be running a 5K and I had to choose between this and the RC Elite, there is a pretty decent chance I might actually choose this.
And then put on the Alpha Fly.
And then put on the Alpha Fly. But yeah, I like the Rebel 2 a lot. It's not something I would quite want for daily mileage, and it fits into this category perfectly. But it's responsive, it's snappy, it's soft and forgiving at the same time. But I like that it's not quite as much, doesn't have as much sauce as the RC Elite 2.
Yes. Something else I enjoyed it. So I actually just brought this shoe out this past weekend or last week for like hill repeats. And I just forgot how responsive it felt like when I was like sprinting up the hill versus just a tempo effort, which I like as well in them. So I think that's what edged it for me over the Mach 4 was that it had just that extra tier of speed for someone like me. I'm not running as fast as David, and so our experience in shoes is different too. But
No,
I think
I agree though. The Rebel 2 is a faster shoe.
The other thing that I was surprised by with this shoe was doing recovery miles, like a shakeout run in these. They just felt cush, and I enjoyed that for not too long, like 30 to 45 minute shakeouts, not anything longer than that, but yeah, pretty versatile. Matt, you have anything to add about the Rebel?
Yeah, I think one of the surprising things, I was honestly terrified to run in the shoe. I was like, oh gosh, this is going to be unstable. It's low drop, which I've had a little bit of Achilles sensitivity in 2021. So I was definitely very nervous about this, but this actually became one of my like daily casual shoes. Like it's so comfortable. And I was so surprised that it actually had, somewhat of the arch comes up a little high and seems to cup your medial side really nicely, which I did not expect for a shoe this soft. I thought this is going to be unstable. I'm barely gonna be able to run in this. And this actually became one of my go-to shorter run shoes. Like if I'm doing a shakeout run, like 3 to 4 miles, this is one of my top ones because it just feels good. It's easy to transition after work in. It's just really pleasant. And then I also really like, again, from a mechanical standpoint, mostly because I have a good number of patients that I see with this. And this is one of the reasons I actually really like the RC Elite 1 was not for me, but for a lot of people that have issues with stability in the forefoot and people that tend to roll too far out. The lateral flare here does a great job of kind of guiding people a little bit more in and getting off either centered or off the medial aspect, getting off that toe a little bit more. So I loved it for that. And I think I was worried about it for me, no issue. I think the combination of this here and then here just kind of like kept your foot nice and very, very gently guided. It's not a stability shoe by any means, but it just kept you nice and guided. Where it's like, this is really pleasant. I can't do long miles in this just because there's not enough heel drop, and that softness I do start to notice with longer mileage, but workouts, right? So like I live on a hill. So any hill workouts, this will be a common one I'll grab just like, oh, it's right here. Let me slip this on. This will be nice. And it's just a really solid shoe. And the upper is really comfortable. Plenty of toe box room. Which I sometimes have issues with New Balance, kind of having the fit being off a little bit for me. Perfect. Great. I've worn this sockless with socks, super comfortable.
I'll actually say for me, it was maybe like a quarter size short. Like I don't, if you're like a tweener, in my opinion, I would go half size up for length. Like I'm fine. But I think for those who it's not as much room in front of the toes as some other shoes.
Unless you like that shorter fit and you want something like race day or faster stuff, then you might want that kind of fit. But
right. Cool. Any other final thoughts from you guys? All right. Awesome. Well, there is our conversation on the performance trainer non-plated shoe of 2021. Our consensus pick again is the New Balance Rebel V2. So, let us know what you guys think your favorite non-plated performance training shoe option, which again, we're defining as a shoe that specializes for up-tempo running workouts and can even double as a racer for some. It's even better if the shoe can handle those warm-ups and easy miles on the ends of workouts, but isn't typically as comfortable for daily mileage. Again, please keep up with what we're doing on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can join our Strava group and just kind of look at what we're testing as well as kind of what we're running, and then we can kind of be in this thing together. And so we're thankful for our DOR fam and looking forward to our conversation next time, which will be on, again, performance trainers, but we're going to talk about plated options. Have a good night.